Yeah, my name is Similo. This is going to be a very brief introduction, and I want to circle back to it at the end to get to the entire point of this. So I'm Similo. I'm a university student at UJ, majoring in economics and econometrics. However, I do plan on pursuing something completely different once I finish this at the end of this year, and I will get back to why. So to start off, grade nine, which is basically where we choose our subjects for grade 10. At this point, we are fairly young, we don't really know much about
Okay,
ourselves,
muted.
but
Yes.
we already kind of have an idea of what we want to do with our lives. So, in terms of like, I want to share a lot of my personal experiences as well, because I think there's a lot to learn from my experiences. So, I will start off by saying that the degree that I'm doing right now was never my first choice, and which is something I want everyone to consider. Everyone who's, grade 9, 10 upwards, that's the mistake that you guys should not be making. It was never my first choice. I'm an economics student and I did not do economics in high school. So that stems from me not knowing exactly what I needed to do or wanted to do at a young age, because where my heart was as a youth, I was like, I was I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but I was a really talented footballer, as I've been told. To this day, I still have all my medals and things hung up, and that's where my heart was at the time. So with school, I just happened to be one of those students that were just like, I would just pass things without, So then that's where the whole conflict started, where it's like, do you go the sports route or do you stick with school academics because you're good? And unfortunately, with traditional kind of parents, they believe only in school, right? And at the time, not knowing what I wanted to do besides have fun and play football kind of led me where I am today. So grade nine, that's the point. You should kind of have an idea of what you want to do. That's the mistake I made. That's a mistake that no one else should be making. So at this point, you should kind of sit down and just, think like, what do I want to do? What interests me, you know? So this is now where the subject choices go in. My mistake in grade nine was choosing subjects that, again, I had no idea what I was doing, which is now something that you guys should learn from. So, of course, schools offer different courses. Our school, in terms of like the streams that we do, it was quite random. You are allowed to choose like totally unrelated subjects, which also added to my confusion as because I ended up doing accounting and CAT and history all together, and it was confusing. So at this stage, when you have an idea of like what you want to do in your career, because there are some students that already know they want to be doctors or pilots or whatever. At this point, with the proper guidance, you should know that, okay, I want to go into the medical field. What do I need? I'm going to need to do pure math. I'm going to need to do life science. I'm going to need to do this and that. So that's the choice that actually shapes your career path. And I will have to circle back to this choice, even though it can be changed, but I will have to circle back to this when we get to a later stage, right? Which is grade 11. Grade 11 is now, it's quite, I think, personally, besides, matric is the year, yes, you have to pass and you have to, that's what they use to get you into university and all that. But grade 11 is the most crucial year. Some might argue that it's the most hardest. This is where you're doing your university applications. And this is where whatever choice you made in grade nine, this is where you have to like stand on it, as we say. standing on your business now because I chose to do this and now I have to apply. What am I applying for? I'm applying for, again, using medical school as an example. If I'm applying for that, there are subject requirements in that field. So if you knew or had an idea back then that you wanted to do something and chose the subject and did well in that subject and you have to apply, the universities are looking at that particular subject. Of course, they're going to look at everything as a whole, but that subject you chose, that's like we call it prerequisite, which means that you have to have done the subject in order to at least meet the requirements to actually apply for the course. That's what they're looking at. So we get to the university stage because, of course, metric, straightforward, you've made your choices, you have to pass, right? This is now at university, it's the point at which your choices prove to be great choices or ones that need to be revised. Which is why I want to circle back to what I did. By the time I got to matric and university, that's when I kind of thought, okay, I'm good at this. I'm good at that. I might need to, go into this field or that field. So only then I was able to like actually sit down with myself and say, okay, this is what I'd like to do. This is what I'd like to do. It was late for me by the time because then I'd already applied for the course that I'm doing now, which I was put because like my brother studied this. So then it was just like, the most logical thing at the time, even though it was never my first choice. But this is the point where I started to discover my passions. Like I'm into art, so I like that, even though I can do math. So then it's like, where do math and art meet, you know? So which is another thing that you guys need to consider. So when you reflect on your choices, my first tip is to reflect on your interests, which is basically you choosing subjects that you enjoy. You have to consider your strengths as well. And that's another important thing because sadly, you may love something, but if you're not good at it, you're not good at it. And you have a choice to either work and get, good at it, which could take very long and might not be successful, or find something you're really good at that you really love, and that's like the greatest thing you can do because you'll actually get to a point where you're not even when you're in university, you're not going to school just to go there. You're excited to actually attend your classes because it's something you love. So that's another important choice to make.
Um,
And
please try to wrap up in about a minute so that
yeah,
we
yeah,
can.
yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks.
And now the final stretch is now you being in university now. By this point, you should have your choices at this point are your life now. You're living the consequence of your choices. You can change it, which is what I'm trying to do by pursuing another degree, which is in architecture and construction, because that's what I enjoy. And so for me, I mean, it's not too late for me because I'm changing now after pursuing an entire degree. But for you guys, it's still early enough to actually go into what you love, straight into it, and early in your lives, start pursuing a career that, you have loved and thought of from the jump, from the beginning. And and then the last thing that I'd like to do, my main point at the end is that it's okay to adjust your path as you learn and grow, and that it's important to make informed decisions now and stay open to new possibilities in future, which is what I'd like to leave you guys with. Because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a bad choice. There's just a choice that needs to be revised. And that's all from me.